Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Just reaching for
Good to
my.
be. I would say it's good. Yeah, you need a prayer book.
Yes.
Can't know the prayers without a program. I would say it's good to be back, but it was really good to be away. For those that are unaware, I was gone for the past four Shabbatot. If you didn't miss me, then it's okay. We were on the great Canadian road trip, as Rabbi Brown called it. We rented an RV and traveled for 30 days throughout the province, staying COVID safe, but being very close to each other as we went to the island and to the interior and all the parts in between. And I'll talk a little bit more about it in the sermon. But it was nice to be out in our gorgeous province and to experience the beautiful sanctuary of nature. Um, God makes great stained glass windows. You just have to go outside to see them. So it's really wonderful, and it's also very nice to be back and to have a little more than about 150 square feet to be living in. And to be with all of you and to be with you, Cantor Tasek. It's good to see you again.
Nice to have you back.
Good to be back. And so we begin.
הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. We'll continue with Ma Yafeh Hayom. How beautiful is this day? Ma Yafeh Hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Ma Yafeh Hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shalom. Ma Yafeh Hayom. Shabbat, Shalom. Ma Yafeh Hayom. Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shalom.
I wanted to share a reading as we begin. It's forward, I guess, now. I just turned back in my prayer book. Maybe it's backwards in my prayer book. I begin with a prayer of gratitude for all that is holy in my life. God needs no words, no English or Hebrew, no semantics, no services, but I need them. Through prayer, I can sense my inner strength, my inner purpose, my inner joy, my capacity to love. As I reach upward in prayer, I sense these qualities in my Creator. To love God is to love each other, to work to make our lives better. To love God is to love the world that God created and to work to perfect it. To love God is to love dreams of peace and joy that illumine all of us and that bring that vision to life. Our service continues, page 131, Shir Lo Adonai, Shir Chadash. We sing unto God a new song.
Shiru Ladonai, Shir Chadash, Shiru Ladonai, Kol Haaretz, Shiru Ladonai, Baruch Shemo, Basru Miyom Liyom Yeshuato, Sapru Vagoyim Kevodo, Bechol Hamim Nifleotav, Ki Gadol Adonai, Holam Meod Norahu Al Kol Elohim Ayai Yai dai da dai dai, yai dai dai, yai dai dai, yai dai da dai dai, yai da dai dai dai, yai dai dai dai, yai dai yai dai yai dai, yai dai dai dai, yai dai yai dai dai.
We turn to page 142 as we welcome the Sabbath angels, as we bring Shabbat into our homes with a sense of Shabbat Menucha, of Shabbat rest, and Shabbat Kedusha, of holiness, of elevating this moment. Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon. Mi Malach, Malachei HaMalachim HaKadosh, Baruch Hu. Bachem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi malach, malachei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. Barchuni l'shalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon. Mi malach, malachei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. Tzedchem l'shalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon. Mi malach, malachei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu.
You know, when we went out into our provincial parks and our national parks, we celebrated Shabbat in the outdoors. It's one of the things that I love most about summer. It's one of the things I miss most about summer camp, is all the worshiping in the cathedrals and the sanctuaries of nature. And when you go out into those spaces, the idea that is illuminated through the prayer L'Chadodi, through the poem L'Chadodi that we'll sing in a moment, is the idea that as the sun sets, the Sabbath Queen comes in from the mountains, pictured in Svat, but could be anywhere that you are, and enters into your space and brings Shabbat with its presence. We felt that very much as the sun would set on very long days, and particularly as we experienced Shabbat in our beautiful parks and on our beaches and on our coastlines. And so we welcome the Sabbath Bride just as they did in the days of Svat. If we look out from wherever we're seated to our windows and we see the days are getting a little darker quicker, the sun is setting now and Shabbos is here. Page 138, L'Chadodi. You're on mute, Naomi, you're on mute.
Lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nekabla Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad Hishmianu el hamyuchad Adonai echad Ushmo echad l'shemo tiferet V'letehila lecha dodi Likrat kala Penei Shabbat nekabla Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha Ki mekor haberacha Mirosh mikedem nesucha Sof maaseh b'machshava techila Lecha dodi Likrat kala Penei Shabbat nekabla Mikdash melech ir melucha Kumitehi mitoch hafecha Rav lach shevet be'ameka bacha Hu yachamol alaychem la Lecha dodi Likrat kala Penei bela. Hitoreri, kiva orech, kumi yori, uri, shir daberi, kavod Adonai, alayich nigla, lecha dodi, likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Boi v'shalom teret bala, gam besimcha utala, toch emune am segula. Boi chala, lecha dodi, likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela.
We rise if that's your custom in your own home. You can stay laying down in your bed in your pajamas if that's how you are too. Page 263, Chatzi Kaddish.
Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabba le'olam
Amen.
yivrachute v'yamlich malchute b'chayechon v'yomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael bagala uv'izman kariv v'yimeru amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevarach, le'alam me'amaya, yitbarach, v'yishtabach, v'yitpar, v'yitramam, v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar, v'yitalal, shemei dekudesha barichu, le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, Damiram ve'alma ve'imeru. Amen.
The Baruch Hu's on page 264. For those who don't have a Siddur, there's one available on our website just below the link to this video, templeshalom.ca/video.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Leolam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Vaed.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidbaro ma'ariv aravim. B'chochma poteach sha'arim u'bitvuna mishane itim. U'machalif et hazmanim u'mesader et hakochavim. U'mishrotehem barakia kirtzono. Borei yom b'layla golel or mipnei choshech v'choshech mipnei or. U'mavir yom u'mevi layla u'mavdil bein yom u'bein layla. Adonai tzavaot shemo. El chai v'kayam. Tamid yimloch aleinu le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Hama'ariv Haravim.
Ahavat olam beit Yisrael amcha ahavta. Torah mitzvot chukim u'mishpatim otanu limadeta. Al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shachbeinu uvkumeinu nasiach b'chokacha v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha uv'mitzvotecha leolam va'ed ki hem chayinu ve'yorech yameinu uvahem negei yomam b'layla ve'ahavatecha al tasir mimenu le'olamim. Baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael. Ohev amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
Page 268.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
We worship the power that unites the universe, a promise of harmony for all. Yet that oneness eludes our grasp as imperfection and evil abound. Before our eyes, there is a vision of perfection, of order and goodness. There's evil enough to break the heart, and there is good enough to exalt the soul. When will redemption come? When we grant everyone what we claim for ourselves. Long ago, we escaped the tyranny of Egypt, and our people saw the power of the Most High. We learned God's presence redeems time and event, so we celebrate this power that makes for freedom. While I was on my trip, we went to a place called Miracle Beach, and it is a place of quite a name because miracles are things that we are in this moment in our service singing about as we enter into Micha Mocha, and we talk about the parting of seas as the Israelites walked through the Sea of Reeds from the shores of slavery to freedom. And I had a moment where I think I understood how that natural wonder might have taken place. If you know Miracle Beach at all, it's on the eastern coast of Vancouver Island, across from Powell River. I didn't know any of this until I got there. And you can walk out for kilometers in the water. There's hardly any surf, and the water comes up to just your knees. I'll show you, actually. I'll share a picture. So this is Miracle Beach. And we're standing probably almost a kilometer out into the ocean there, into the Georgia Strait. And it seems like you could almost walk to the lower mainland from where we are. Maybe that's what the Israelites experienced. Maybe it wasn't so much this incredible parting of these great seas, but maybe there was just low tide. I don't know. But it was a miraculous experience, and it begins to approach the sense of awe and wonder that Rabbi Heschel talks about, the radical amazement that we need to take in to just perceive that it's not necessarily burning bushes and miracles like that, but that it is the miracles of nature that are all around us that can remind us of the uniqueness of our creation, the blessing of being in this moment and in this place. And so we sing a song of freedom, Micha Mocha, page 270.
Micha Mocha Beilim Adonai, Micha Mocha Nedar B'Kodesh, Nora Tehilot O Seifele, Nora Tehilot O Seifele, Malchutecha Rahuvanecha, Bokei Hayam Lifnei Moshe uMiriam, Zeinianu ve'amru, Adonai Yimloch, Adonai Yimloch, Le'olam Ga'al Yisrael.
Page 271, Hashkivenu, we ask God's blessing as we lay down for sleep.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, l'shalom. V'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Amen. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, l'shalom. V'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Amen.
Page 272, Vishamru.
V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, ביני ובין בני ישראל, ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם. Yum bada bim bum bye, Shabbat Shabbat, yum bada bim bum bye, Shabbat Shabbat, yum bada bim bum bye, Shabbat Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim ve'et haaretz uvayom hashvi Shabbat vayinafash. Yum bada bim bum bye, Shabbat Shabbat, yum bada bim bum bye, Shabbat Shabbat, yum bada bim bum bye, Shabbat Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom.
We turn to page 273 and rising for the Amidah. We begin with a prayer for prayer. Adonai Sefetai Tiftach Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha. Eternal God, help us find the words that we might approach you and speak with you in prayer. Page 274, the Amidah.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanorah, El Elyon, Gomel chasadim tovim v'konei hakol, v'zocher chasdei avot v'imahot, u'mevi geula livnei v'neihem, leman shemo be'ahava. Melech ozer Moshiach magen, Baruch atah Adonai, magen Avraham be'ezrat Sarah. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיים מתים אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטל. מחכל חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ברופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו, לשני העפר. מי כמוך בגבורות ומדם מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות מתים Baruch atah Adonai mechayeh hametim. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh ukdoshim b'chayom yalucha salah. Baruch atah Adonai
Lord,
ha'el hakadosh.
amen. You are holy, your name is holy, and those who are holy praise you every day. Blessed are you, Adonai, the holy God. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh. We continue, and you can be seated if you ever stood. We have no idea. The bottom of page 277.
Eloheinu v'Eloi avoteinu ve'imotenu ritzei v'menuchateinu kadshenu b'mitzvotecha v'tein chelkeinu b'toratecha sabeinu mitovacha v'samcheinu b'shuatecha v'taher libenu v'taher libenu v'taher libenu le'ovdecha be'emet v'taher libenu v'taher libenu v'taher libenu le'ovdecha be'emet v'hanchilenu Adonai Eloheinu be'ahava v'ratzon Shabbat kodshecha ve'anuchu v'Yisrael Mekadesh Mecha Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat.
My daughter brought me a glass of water. That never happened in the sanctuary. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day, and may we all live in such a way that this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat.
Amen.
Page 279.
Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu be'amecha Yisrael u'tefilatam be'ahava tekabel u'tehila ratzon tamid avodat Yisrael Yisrael Amecha El Karov Lechol Korav Penei El Avadecha Vechoneinu Shefoch Ruchacha Aleinu V'techezen Eineinu Beshuvecha LeTzion Barachamim Baruch atah Adonai HaMachazir Shechinato LeTzion LeTzion LeTzion.
Modim anachnu lach she'atahu Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu le'olam va'ed. Surcheinu megen Yeshuenu atahu lador vador. Nodeh lecha nesaper tilatecha al chayinu chamsurim biadcha. V'nishmotenu chapdot lach.
ועל ניסיך שבכל יום עמנו, ועל נפלותיך וטובותיך מעולם קיווינו לך, מעולם קיווינו לך. ועל ניסיך שבכל ערב ובוקר וצהריים מעולם קיווינו לך, מעולם קיווינו לך. הטוב כי נאכלו רחמך, והמרחם כי לא תמו חסדיך. מעולם קיווינו לך, מעולם קיווינו לך.
We were encouraged this week by the news coming out of Israel and the United Arab Emirates and Washington, D.C., of the agreement for normalization of diplomatic relations between Israel and the United Arab Emirates. And we acknowledge the important role that the United States played in that, and even indeed the Trump administration that they played in that. I would not want it to be said that I didn't acknowledge the United States government when they did something right. I certainly acknowledge them and other governments when they do things wrong. But they got this one right, it seems, and there's a hopeful opportunity for even more openings and more recognition towards normalcy. That is part of the prayer for peace. And so blessed be the peacemakers who bring together those who cannot find other ways to get along, and perhaps because of the crisis that exists in our world, and we know that Israel and the UAE have been collaborating in the response to COVID-19, that when we find things that don't divide us, when we find, as we have in the midst of this pandemic, that there is so much more that we have in common, so many ways that our lives and indeed our very breath is connected to each other, that maybe we can set aside our geographic differences, our sometimes petty and often long-held grievances, and find a way to coexist and even to help and support each other. And so, blessed be the peacemakers, page 282, Shalom Rav, a prayer for peace.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech Adon lecho hashalom. Ki ata hu melech Adon lecho hashalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov b'necha levarech et amcha Yisrael b'chol leit u'b'chol shah b'shlomecha. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Baruch atah Adonai Hamavarech et amo Yisrael B'Shalom.
Help me, O God, to find still moments, quiet spaces within to refresh my soul. Cease my questions, my inner debates, and let me meditate on your goodness. Help me, O God, to nurture my courage, recalling moments of strength, and let me remember days of fortitude and the certainty of your regard. Help me, O God, to turn to the light, to feel the warmth of your touch, your own face and fingers outstretched, alive, alive in your sight. Take a moment for our own meditations.
Adonai Tzuri, Adonai Tzuri, Vegali, Vegali, Adonai Yularatzon, Imrefi, Imrefi, Vegion libi lefanecha. Adonai Tzuri, Adonai Tzuri, Vegali, Vegali.
Turn to page 371 as our thoughts and prayers focus on those who are sick and in need of healing. Ever aware of the power of this community to not only bring food to those that are sick and to be by their side, but also to be the comfort and the strength that so many rely upon. We are doctors of the soul in some ways, mending the spirit, as this Misha Berach prayer speaks about, a refuat hanefesh, a healing of the soul, refuat haguf, a renewal of the body as well. And so on this Shabbat, we ask God's blessing of healing on Zelda Bluma Shore, Mary Coheen, Bella Sherman, Kim Bennett, Yochana Bat Gershon Vyosefa, Tony Kennedy, Sarah Bat Avraham Vasara, Raphael Yeshaya Ben Chava, Igor Ilisov, Ed Ozer, Maury Dozer, David Shlomo Gorney, Dr. Kukunot Joyo, Denise Huguet, Ronnie Goldberg, Andrea Jarzabak, Ari Schwartz, Maureen Newman, Neil Tapley, Ellen Barbary, and Yana Timko. And if you have a name to add to this prayer for healing, we invite you to call it out loud in your homes, to keep it inside in your heart, or to even type it into the comment window below this video screen as we join with our cantor, the Misha Berach, page 371.
Mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misha Beirach Imotenu Mekor HaBracha Le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Thank you, Cantor Tassing. That was beautiful. Thank you. wanted to take a moment to share some announcements with you first, and then I'll share a few thoughts on my journeys and how they connect, I think, to maybe perhaps all of our spirituality. But first, just some announcements about what's going on at the synagogue. You will be receiving a communication in the next week or so, maybe a week after, about all the things that we have planned for the High Holy Days. But I do want you to know that it's coming. As we've mentioned in previous communications, all of our High Holy Day sermons will be online. There'll be no live in-person services, though we'll be leading much of the services live. Cantor Tausig, Rabbi Brown, and myself socially distanced in our sanctuary with some cameras set up. We won't be having people in the sanctuary other than ourselves. But all of our programming will be online, and there'll be lots and lots for you to participate in. You're going to be seeing some opportunities, in fact, for you to participate now in advance of those services, some recordings that we'd like to get from all of you. So please be on the lookout for that. We have some very special things planned. We've been working on this since March, and lots of moving parts to it, but we're excited to share it with you soon. I did want to share the announcements that were emailed out to you, and I'll just cruise through them quickly. Tomorrow morning, we celebrate the bat mitzvah of Ellie Goldman. She's actually on our service tonight and will be leading us in Kiddush in a little bit. Ellie, we see that you and your family are there, and we'll bring you on screen towards the end of our service. So that's at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. You can, of course, always watch our services as you are now, and continuing on Shaw or on Telus, on cable, on Facebook and YouTube, and our website. Havdalah tomorrow night at 7:30. Join me online for that via Zoom. Minions Mondays and Wednesday mornings at 7:45. Torah study and Talmud continue at their regular times. We have a virtual Shabbat Kiddush. Tomorrow after Ellie's service, there'll be the bat mitzvah reception. So the Shabbat Kiddush won't be taking place at that time, but hopefully you'll stick online for the virtual Shabbat reception. And I've seen a little bit of Ellie's bat mitzvah montage. It's worth seeing. We had a wonderful Shabbat concert yesterday, not Shabbat concert, seniors concert yesterday in the backyard of the synagogue, again, socially distanced. We limit those to just 40 congregants, and we've sold out. But we hope that you'll register for the one that's coming up every week now. August 20th is David Blake and his jazz guitar duo, and August 27th, Allison Berry singing and piano and ukulele. Our outdoor Shabbatot, those continue next Friday night, again in the backyard of our sanctuary and synagogue. We've got some wonderful tents set up now. You can order dinner in advance. Arrive at 6 o'clock for dinner, 7 o'clock for the service. And just to let you know, after Labor Day, as long as weather permits, we're going to move to a weekly Friday night in the back of the sanctuary, back of the synagogue in the courtyard, for as long as the weather can do. And we have the holidays, of course, that intercede with that. We invite you to participate in our services. If you would click the link in your email, we need participants for Aliyot, prayers in English or in Hebrew. We hope that you'll do that. We continue our Jewish anti-racist parenting webinar series this Sunday, the 16th, and next Sunday, the 23rd at 10 a.m. via Zoom, and all the other things we've sent out to you, I think you can find online. So be on the lookout for those high holiday communications. They are coming, and we have much to look forward to in that regard. So I did want to share a few words with you about my experience of being away. I hope that you all get the opportunity to get away a little bit, to at least get outside of the bubble that you're in and go into take your bubble and take it someplace else. It really is a blessing, and particularly to be in such a beautiful part of the world, and while the weather is cooperating. It says in Jewish tradition that once you walk the land, you own the land, and you possess the land. In fact, that was the commandment that was given to the Israelites, both to Abraham and later on to Joshua, that they needed to walk the land in order to truly claim it as their own. My family and I have lived here in Vancouver in BC for 7+ years now, and we really hadn't traveled much. We've been a little busy raising children and a congregation and all those things, but we finally had the opportunity to get and to see. And what a gorgeous province we have. What spectacular, as I mentioned, provincial parks and national parks, and just natural places of beauty, and such wonderful communities. Small little towns along the way, places I had only heard about and had no idea where they were and couldn't find on a map. And now I can say that I've driven through them, or I've slept there. Castlegar and Slocan Lake and Lake Cowichan and Campbell River. I caught a fish, a salmon in Campbell River, so did one of my sons. And so you really do feel like you belong when we feel like we are at home and so blessed to be here. Our tradition also teaches about how it is so much the journey and not the destination that is our focus. If anything, even our shlichut, our sacred mission. It's not just about where we get to. Torah was given in the wilderness, and so much of the Torah is spent on the journey, not the arrival in the promised land. Yes, the promised land is always sitting out there, and Moses and the Israelites are striving for it through pages and pages of Torah, but so much of what we learn is actually about the journey along the way, the places between Mitzrayim, the narrowness of Egypt, and the broad expanse of a land flowing with milk and honey. And that was our experience as well along the journey. And to be clear, we rented an RV, which was really a bus, and drove for 30 days, again, as I said, on the island and through the interior. And along the way, we would not have had such a meaningful experience. And in some cases, we would not have been able to even have an experience were it not for some of the people that we met along the way. Again, a story in Torah, and a favorite one of mine is the story of Jacob, who, sorry, not of Jacob, of Joseph, who goes out to meet his brothers. And I've told this story many times, and he's in a field looking for them, and he can't find them. And a man comes up to him, an ish basadeh, it says in Torah, just a man in the field, and sees that he is lost and offers him direction. And as I've said before, and as we've studied, we know that were it not for that man in the field that points Joseph to his brothers, the Israelites never would have had the opportunity, I think, to be redeemed when they're in Egypt, because Joseph goes down, all these things happen. There's a musical about it if you want to see it and sing to it. But ultimately, he's in a position of power and influence that he can receive his brothers and their families and receive them in a way that they can be sustained in the midst of the 7 years of famine that take place in Egypt. And we know the Israelites then settle in the land for 400 years. A Pharaoh rises that doesn't know Joseph, and well, the Seder happens from there. But it's that man in the field that points Joseph in the right direction. And we met many men and women in the field along the way. Soon and early into our trip, our giant RV bus of 30 feet blew a hydraulic line, nothing having to do with the brakes, but a lot having to do with the leveling of the bus. And there was a wonderful mechanic who helped us. His name was Harold. And Harold saw the problem and fixed the problem, and really saved our trip, because we were pretty much not going to be going too far if Harold hadn't been there to be our ish basadeh, our man in the field that not only knew the problem, but was able to fix the problem. And then really not much later than that, we broke a key in one of the locks of our bus, and Mitchell, who was the only mechanic in Tofino, and this was a Sunday evening, drove out to our campsite. He had just come back from fishing all day, and he clearly was tired, but he said, "I'm the only one around, and you sound like you're in trouble, so I'll drive out there." And he not only was the only mechanic in Tofino, but he happened to have a key machine in his shop and was able to fish out the piece of the key from the lock that it was stuck in, went back to his shop, made us a new key, fixed the lock, drove back and fixed the lock. And so for Mitchell, he was also our ish basadeh. But there were others along the way as well. We stopped at many roadside stands to ask directions, to ask, where do we go from here? And people after people, even in the midst of this COVID, even in the midst of people being fearful of getting too close to each other, we're all too generous and all too kind to help and to guide us, to see us as B'Tselem Elohim, as fellow human beings created in the image of God, and to be generous and to be giving and to be helpful to each other. And I know that if you have ever been that person or have been receiving of that kind of kindness, we know how those human moments can restore our faith in humanity. As we look to the headlines that were particularly prominent right before and during our trip about the civil unrest that's taking place all over the world, particularly in relation to systemic racism and anti-Black racism, it is so wonderful to see human beings of all colors and backgrounds treat each other with care and compassion. I think what we see on the news it is real, of course, but it also is just a glimpse, and perhaps a very narrow view, of what really goes on in the world, and that people do care about each other. And in many ways, as I said, this pandemic has brought us closer together. So there were many other moments along the way, campsites that we thought we wouldn't be able to get into, and then somebody made an exception or opened up an opportunity for us. People that were kind and generous to us with ideas and suggestions about where to go and what to do. And all of it just reminded and restored for me my faith in humanity, that, we really are so much more alike, and so much in all of what we're dealing with. We are all dealing with very much the same things. Um, and it was heartening, and it was spiritual in a very true and serious way. So I want to thank our board for giving me the extra time off, and to thank Rabbi Brown and Cantor Tausig and our entire staff for minding the store while I was away. It's always harder when one of us is gone, and I thank you for that. And I want to thank you, my congregation, for your faith in me and in all of us, and for bringing me to Canada. We truly feel blessed to be here, and now, having walked the land, we feel like we truly are home. Shabbat Shalom. So our service will continue, page 586. As Cantor Tausig joins us back on screen, we rise for Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשינו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, בגורלנו כחומונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומשה יקרו בשמיים עמו, ושכינתו זו בגובה מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום בשבות אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא אלוהים בשמיים ממעל, והארץ מתחת אין עוד. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Thank you, Cantor Tausig. We turn in our prayer books to page 598 as our thoughts turn to friends and loved ones who are not with us, but whose presence we always feel and we think of particularly at this time. Before the Mourners Kaddish and before reading the names of our loved ones who we remember for blessing, I'd like to share this reading. When I die, give what's left of me away to children and old men that wait to die. And if you need to cry, cry for your brother walking the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give me. I want to leave you something better than words or sounds. Look for me in the people I've known or loved, and if you cannot give me away, at least let me live in your eyes and not in your mind. You can love me best by letting hands touch hands, by letting go of children that need to be free. Love doesn't die, people do. So when all that is left of me is love, give me away. On this Shabbat, we recall those who died during this past week, whose families are in the midst of Shiva and Shloshim. We remember of blessed memory this week, Hannah Dar, Reb Shaya Kalimnik, and Rabbi Adin Steinsaltz. We also recall those whose Yortzeit, the anniversary of their death, is on this Shabbat. As I read the name of your loved one, if you're standing at home, or if you're at home, I invite you to rise, even if you're standing alone, although I hope you're not, so that we can honor their memory. Jack Bellsberg, Sally Bookbinder, Laura Bookbinder Mazo, Simon Butts, Joseph Kopovich, Ethel Kramer, Esther Daltrup, Eddie Fisher, Andrew Foxman, Sophie Freeman, Lionel Ginsberg, Jay Goldberg, Nina Granovskaya, Jack Goralnik, Lewis Hendon, Raisa Lakran, Gladys Kahanovitz, Donald Kennedy, Harry Landa, Mott Mahler, Edith Mayer, Baruch David Muzakel, Max Nacht, Leon Penn, Harold Pollack, Ann Polsky, Zachary Prince, Peter Rosen, Terry Sawyer, Annette Shaffrin, Shirley Shipman, Kevin Simmons, Janet Street, Diane Van Zant, Calvin Warney, Bessie Weinstein, Margaret Wellington, Marielle Witten, and Sam Zingerman. If there are others who've come to say Kaddish, loved ones that you're remembering, I invite you please to call out their name at home, to type it into the chat below this, the comment box below this video screen. As we join together in the Mourners Kaddish, we recall all of those who've died in defense of freedom and justice, victims of terror in this land, the land of Israel around the world, and those who died in the Shoah and the Holocaust that have no family left to remember them. We recall them for blessing as well. We join together Kaddish Yatom. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, v'yalma divrach irutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayachon v'yomechon uv'chayei l'chol Beit Yisrael, v'agalav v'zman kariv v'yimaru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'lamei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitroman v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudesha b'richu. Le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damin ron be'alma v'yimarum amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'yakol Yisrael v'yimaru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, v'ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'yakol Yisrael v'yakol yoshvei tevel v'yimaru amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort the bereaved among us. And we say together, amen. And so we've come now close to the end of our service, and there is Ellie Goldman, our bat mitzvah, and her dad, Ari. There you are.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. So we want to invite you to lead us in a Kiddush and the Motzi before our closing song. Do you have it in front of you, Ellie? Do you have the prayer book?
Yeah.
Excellent. Well prepared. And a Kiddush cup.
Okay. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho b'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron l'maaseh b'reishit ki hu yom techila l'mikraya kodesh zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim. Ki banu bacharta beotanu kidashta mikol ha'amim b'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat.
Amen. L'chaim, Ellie. Have a sip. And share with your dad. And I hear there's a challah there.
Yeah.
You got to show the challah. Is homemade?
No,
No.
it's from Sabras.
Well, that's still pretty darn good. Go ahead.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam lechem min haaretz.
Amen.
Amen. Wonderful, Ellie. We look forward to sharing Torah with you and your whole family tomorrow morning. I hope you get some rest tonight. Don't be too nervous. You did just great.
Yeah.
We'll join with our cantor in our closing song.
Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל, ואמרו אמן. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shalom.
Shabbat shalom. We'll see everyone tomorrow morning. Services at 10 a.m. Join us on Zoom, on Telus, on Shaw, on YouTube, on our website. Join Ellie and her family for her bat mitzvah. Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Can you see how many people?